All right, welcome my friends back to another. Oh yeah.
Just 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, welcome my friends to another episode here of Self-Developed Life, and this is a live on location back in my old condo here in Vancouver with one of my good friends that we sat in this condo about 10 years ago when we first met for the first time. So I want to introduce a special guest. We have Puya, and he's here to talk about kind of what he's up to with his coaching programs and how he's really made a big transition in yourself. And this is the first time we've actually connected in real life in the last probably few years, besides the Skype calls and stuff like that. But it's great to see you, man.
Thank you.
And yeah, really happy we had the time to connect before. I have a flight in a couple hours and he's got an appointment here, so this is gonna be a short one, but we'll get it dialed in. So what's been happening with you for the last, however long you wanna go back?
Just overall life, you know, right when you think you discover something that, you know, works, all of a sudden life surprises you to realize how much less you know you think, you know.
Right.
So there's always, you know, I find that whoever I speak with, if they're humble enough to go behind the veils of their persona of, you know, how are you doing? Oh, life is great, everything's amazing.
Yeah. Nice to see you. Nice to see you.
Yeah, really
great.
good. Oh, everything's fantastic. It's great. Oh yeah, really awesome. Good. Anything else? No, it's just amazing. Just awesomeness. If you go behind that facade, you know, you realize that life is great, and I'm all about being positive. But the fact is, we are human beings, and we have, no matter who you are or where you are, there are areas of struggle and challenge, and there are a lot of pain, and there's a lot of suffering, and there's a lot of lonely nights, and there's a lot of depression, and there's a lot of emotions that are not talked about.
Yeah, for sure.
And we feel guilty if we feel depressed, etc. So I'm learning to have compassion with myself, and I'm learning to bring more balance in every area, and I'm not expecting perfection of myself, but yeah, so I've been going through a lot of shifts, traveling the world in the past 2 years. I lived in like 4 different cities. You know, and I just came back to Vancouver a couple of months ago. Really, really grateful for this beautiful city, meeting a lot of amazing people.
No kidding.
Really expanding my dating life, you know, talking to 3 girls a day, and growing my business locally and online. That's just a little preview of what I'm up to.
Got it, man. So, you know, from what I remember from our past was, you know, you were always such a passionate guy. You know, maybe if you want to share your story of, you know, your background, because you came to Canada when you were how old?
15 years old.
15,
yeah,
okay.
So do you want like a 1-minute version or a 5-minute version?
Let's do the 1 minute, because we were both on a schedule.
1 minute
here,
version. Okay, so I came to Canada when I was 15 years old. After a series of challenges, I went to college, started my personal training business. I worked at a mechanical engineering firm, started personal training business, got into internet marketing business, traveled the world, and published a bestseller called Miracle of Forgiveness.
I bought that book. I remember I reached out to you and congratulated you. I got it from Amazon. It's in Korea. I read it like, when was that? When did you publish that?
2015 or 16.
Yeah.
So wrote a book and traveled the world, and I came back to Vancouver again, and I'm now developing my next launch, which is going to be helping entrepreneurial guys like ourselves who like to get to the next level of fitness, mindset, and productivity in their business and life.
Got it, man. Cool. And, you know, from traveling, do you think that Vancouver's gonna be home base? Because that's kind of what I'm struggling with now. You know, like I've been back in Canada for a month, and, you know, when you go to places like we both spent a lot of time in Bali, or you're down in California, you know, do you think that this is gonna be home for you, or are you still wanting to kind of explore more and
that's a good question. I mean, I think freedom is one thing we all want, right, in every way, and I think having a location freedom is a big need for me, especially because when you know you can live everywhere and there are people who are doing that, it's very hard not to do it. So the answer is I would like to create that freedom for myself in the next 6 months with my online business and online work that allows me to have the freedom. So if I choose to stay here, it will be by choice, not because I have to. Yeah.
Well, hey, man, this is a great place to be. You know, like I look at Vancouver and I'm just like, man. Especially, it's always rated one of the top 3 cities in the world, you know. But yeah, I'm just really happy that we're able to.
I was just talking this to my friend the other day. You know, I understand why people live in other places because Vancouver is Vancouver, and I mean, dating life is totally different. You know, I mean, I'm Iranian, right? In Iran, when you're living in another culture, there's a lot of like the relationship between guys and girls is so different than here. You know, here it seems like it's just, let's just say. I'd like to put it plainly, when I walk throughout the world through the day, I don't feel like I'm the most attractive guy on the planet, you know.
Vancouver.
In Vancouver.
Yeah.
You know, but when I go to other parts of the world, like Mexico or South America or anywhere else, you know, in Iran even, you know, there's a whole lot of like realm of attraction and girls and sexuality. It's available, which makes life more fun, right? It seems that way anyway.
Sure, absolutely.
But it comes with its own challenges because, you know, you're in a relationship and then you're attracted to someone else. What do you do with that? You know.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think for myself too, because you know, living in Asia for 8 years, you know, being a tall white Caucasian guy, you get a lot of, you know, looks up, you know.
And you get used to that. You get addicted to that. And when you come to a place where nobody gives a shit who you are, you're just another average dude.
Another dude,
And then I mean, you're still a good-looking guy, even for a Canadian.
Well,
right?
we both
thank
do
you.
well.
We both are,
Yeah.
So thank goodness, right? You're still a good
Thanks, Mom.
guy.
Thanks, Dad.
I mean, you're one of the tallest men, you know. And that's instantly, it's like seeing a girl with the big boobs, basically. You know, it's like our genetics is, I like that.
Animal attraction.
Yeah. But I mean, once you go past that, I like that, then you gotta get to know the personality and the time, and that's when all the shit comes out.
Well, I can totally see that too, because walking around here the last couple of days, and I'm like a really casual guy, you know, like here I'm wearing a t-shirt and freaking like jogging pants because I'm packing to go to a 20-hour flight here right away. But I just had lunch. I just went to Earl's, so you know, Yale Town is like a scene, right? Like it's like everyone's in suits, and I just rolled there for lunch with my buddy Carlin to Earl's, which is like this like loungy area. And I rolled in like this, and you know, like you do where you can get away with certain things elsewhere. People kind of do a double take here, but it's also a very casual city. But dating wise, I'd be interested to hear because, you know, as being a single guy myself, like you know, I find it here being way, not that it's easier, but for me because the language barrier in places like Korea, Japan, is vast.
Oh yes.
You have the physical, but when you're talking about the personal, that's a whole different, you know.
To connect to the other person.
Like I've been on so many dates, bro, with like Google Translator, and she's just like typing like crazy, and then she'll show me her phone. It's like, you have nice eyes, and I'm just like, check please, I can't handle this, you know. But here, I've met a few people just casually when I'm out at the beach and so on, just like having, and it's not that it's anything like sexual, it's just that it's like, hey, I can just have a great conversation and connection with someone like immediately. And then, unfortunately, I'm not here for that long to follow up with stuff, but just knowing that that's how the game's played here, it's kind of a breath of fresh air from what I've experienced. But I could see your point equally clear that there's just so much, not that it's competition, but it kind of is, I guess, right? Like if you think of it, especially with all these dating apps and stuff, you know, like, if you're attractive, guy or girl, you're getting flooded, or you're getting constantly hit up on the street. You know, like this one girl here, she's Japanese, she's really beautiful. I actually just interviewed her for one of my other episodes. Her name's Mami, and very attractive. She's like a hairstylist, very fashionable Japanese. And she's like, we're just talking about how it's different. The podcast was Japan or Tokyo versus Vancouver, the pros and cons of each. She was saying when she walks down the street, she gets like hit up like 4 or 5 times a day by guys on the street approaching her. Like just guys saying, hey, you know, are you traveling? Are you living here? Blah, blah, blah. Imagine being a girl getting hit on like 4 times on her way to work. Yeah. That's just how it is here, you know? Right. So, I mean, that's probably how it is there, but I'm just not part of that because I don't speak, I'm not immersed in that culture and that conversation. So, yeah. Speaking with the guys that you help the most, what are some of the guys' challenges that are, you know, looking to improve their health or their business or their, you know? Yeah.
Well, some of the things that I see is people want to do things, like they want to get to the next level, and the next level for them, a lot of it has to do with their fitness and their sense of fulfillment and purpose in life. You know, so the guys that I work with, they already create a degree of success and financial security. And where they find, and they're already in relationships, and they already have that area covered, relationship, finance, career figured out.
Sure.
Their challenge now is that they're not finding fulfillment and joy and passion, and they want to get to the next level. So the first thing that comes up for them is their fitness. They want to create a physical fitness so that they start to feel really proud of their body compared to all the other guys who you see in the magazine and etc. So that's one area. The other area is to guys have passions and they have careers, but they're not doing what they're actually here to do. So they're making good money, but they're not actually doing the work on their business, because what happens is they're doing the business that pays the money or goes to the job that pays the money.
The golden handcuffs.
Right, exactly. But how do you actually, because if you don't go to the job, you get fired. But nobody's going to fire you if you don't do your passion business. So people, that's one of the biggest problems that they have, is that they really want to like focus on their business, but after a day of work they have no energy. So what we do together is we redefine their day completely. We like one of the things that I support them do is that they start to change their entire day around, so that we actually do their passion projects and their personal development first before doing everything else. So we rearrange stuff, and the challenge is actually going to sleep, waking up on time, having their energy managed in a way that they can actually stay alert, modification to diet, to fitness, all that area.
So what's your schedule? Your day? What is a day in the life?
I wake up at 4 a.m. I meditate in the morning. Is my first thing is my conscious quiet time, and then I have a client at 7:30 a.m. So by seeing him, I've already trained, I've already read, I've already meditated, and I've already done reading. Like I've already worked on myself for 3 hours before I go to the world. And then I work with clients, and I do that. I'm working on a product launch, so I work on that. And I'm basically in an appointment or resting. In midday, I have a nap and rest for about 20-30 minutes.
Only 20-30 nap.
20 power nap. And I call it a power nap. And it's not, nap is a elusive word. It's actually more of a rest. Meditative rest.
Yeah, just taking a break.
Just taking a break, closing eyes, rest the body, and have nutritious food. And then again, there's appointments, and then I usually shut things down by about 7 o'clock, and that's when I focus on just reading again, and I'm doing a lot of spiritual stuff that I really love, so I focus on that at the end of the night, and then I usually end the night by about 9:30.
9:30, got it, cool. It's interesting, I had a 5-hour meeting yesterday with this guy. 5 hours, first, I met him at 10 a.m. And I didn't leave until 3:30. And it was the most insanely interesting and just totally unexpected meeting. It was supposed to last for like 15 minutes.
Wow.
And it went for 5 hours. And this guy, same thing, wakes up 4 a.m.
Oh really?
Yeah, he lives here in Vancouver. Wakes up at 4 a.m.
I thought I'm the one in Vancouver. What the heck? There's another one?
And the guy I just had lunch with wakes up at 4:30.
What? So there's 3 of us.
I know, but dude, that's the thing. High achievers, But for me, I'm a creative. For me, I do all my stuff at night between 11 and 2, 11 and 3, or 10:30, like that. Like night, everything's quiet. I'm up. It's dark. I'm good. But I sleep later than a lot later than 5 a.m. But it was the weirdest thing, because I met him at 10. He finished it because he's an online guy, finance guy, does trading, by the time that we met at 10, he already had 3 beers by 10 a.m.
Beers?
Yeah, he had 3 beers by 10 a.m.
Maybe he's an alcoholic.
Well, you know what though? It's just because he's done all his work. He has lunch at like 10. So I met him for lunch. And then he has dinner early afternoon, and the guy's in bed by like 7. And that's just how he operates, just on a whole different schedule than anybody else. But the most interesting, probably one of the most successful guys I've ever made, or ever met. Just really an interesting conversation. I'm trying to get him on this podcast, but he's like a super recluse, doesn't like the spotlight at all. Just conservative. Does his own thing, and I totally understand why. But yeah, so it's cool to hear that you're doing something similar without the beers, probably.
Without the beers.
Yeah. Are you drinking?
I don't.
Yeah, same. I've been 1.5 years sober.
Good for you. Yeah, I'm the same way. I avoid alcohol like a poison.
Yeah. Well, having a couple of drinks with him was the first time I had more than 2. Because the thing is, when I say I don't drink, I mean I limit myself to like 2 drinks. So I've been sober for 1.5 years. Means I haven't been drunk. I haven't been, I excess, but I'll go out and have a drink or 2 at dinner, and that's just how it's been for the last 1.5 years, and I feel a lot better. I think that.
No, to me, is actually I don't judge you for anything, and I see myself. This is what I'm discovering. Maybe this is gonna help someone out there. Is that I find that there are different personality types. Like I have friends who drink, and they seem to have it all figured out from one angle at least, right? But what I discovered, I was always comparing myself to others. I'm like, well, this guy's making good money, and he seems to have his shit together, and he drinks once in a while,
Right, yeah.
But what I discovered, and this was so liberating for me, and I hope anybody who sees can benefit, is that I realized I actually have an addictive personality, and I fucking love myself for it. Because my addictive personality is actually my biggest asset and my biggest destroyer.
Yeah, interesting. So talk about that.
So my addictive personality is I'm very fucking intense. If I like something, I'm gonna keep doing it. Like that's it. So that means if I like something, I'm 100% committed. Like no matter what happens, I'm all in. I find a way. If I really want something, I make a way. So this, in the terms of, let's say, drinking or drugs or sex or things like that, it makes it so that, you know, if I have, like, if let's say I go out like one glass of drink, right? So I've had a lot of party days, and I've actually, like, I had a lot of amazing moments with being, you know, in the alternate state of consciousness, you know, let's just say with various different drugs and drinking, etc. So the memories of those come back, and I do craving for those. Yeah, right. So once, you know, you have sex, and this incredible sex with, you know, new people all the time on these various drugs that make you be able to fuck like a magician for like a very long time, right? Then the memory is in the mind, so that, you know, one glass of drink this weekend may result in 2 glasses of drink 3 weekends from now. Yeah. But still, my craving for that pleasure hasn't been fulfilled. It's just started to itch it a little bit. Yeah. And I don't feel fulfilled. So I'm like, okay, well, that didn't give me what I needed. Next thing I know, I'm like doing all the things that I don't want to do anymore. Yeah, it's a slippery slope. So I can understand why people, like, you know, the guy went golfing. Actually, I went golfing a couple days ago, and he's an Irish guy, and he's like I can't drink. Like he's sober, and he's gone through the 12-step program. So and he stopped drinking like a long time ago, because in Ireland he's like I was getting wasted, like freaking wasted, since I was like 12, 13 years old. You know, and he's like I can't just have one drink. Yeah. And you know, like he's a really good, successful, healthy guy now, but he's just like, I just can't have that even around me, so he doesn't really go out that, you know. So you know, just talking about addiction and stuff like that, like, do you see that is a big part? Because I know a lot of guys in our kind of peer group that have successful, I guess, financial lives are struggling personally with vices of whatever, you know. Like you said earlier, like there's a lot of taboo stuff when people say, oh, how is everything? It's great. But deep down, there's a lot of pain and suffering and trauma that's kind of trying to mask what is really happening. Yeah, and exactly right. Alcohol, you know, eating, binge eating, sex. These are all, I'm finding that these are all ways in which we're trying to escape the pain. Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to escape the pain, and one of my teachers says we are all PTSD survivors. Yeah. Because we are all part of a society and a conditioning that has raised us with feelings of inferiority, comparing ourselves to others. Well, here's the thing too. Look at social media, man. Like, I grew up without it, thankfully. Imagine going through teenage years with Instagram and all these things where it's like you thought that high school was a popularity contest. You know, look at that now with like the online world of just, man, I couldn't imagine. I feel bad for this generation of never really knowing what it's like to live without this. You know, like, we were both from Alberta, right? And like, I bet you had a very similar youth than mine. Riding your bike outside, playing with friends at the park. That's not happening these days. It's all video games or texting, and, you know, like, it's just different. You know, I'm not saying I shouldn't say it's right or wrong, but it's just different than what I was with, and I can only imagine how the effects later in life will maybe come through in some of these ways we're talking about. Well, look, man, I want to be respectful of your time. We both have busy days here. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we kind of put a bow on this? And yeah, no, just to finish up what we were saying, we were talking about the pain that a lot of people are going through, and like, I was just gonna say, speaking of social media, is one of the greatest way to make yourself feel really terrible. You know, just go on social media and compare yourself to others and what you don't have and what you should have, and, you know, and especially, like, I just give one advice that has been really helpful to me. I've been reading a book called Opportunity by my mentor, Addict. Wait a second, I have it right here, I'll show it to people. Yeah. I literally am reading this right now. So really, it's amazing. Yeah, it's a great book, and one of the advice that I learned from this that has been really helpful is that the feeling of envy, it's very natural when we're in the presence of somebody else who has what we want. It's very natural for us to feel envy. And when we become aware of that, you know, I feel envy all the time. You know, I see people who have $1 million businesses, and I wish I had because of the mistakes that I did. I don't right now, you know, so I see myself as wanting to create something like that. So I feel envy, and one of the things that has been helpful is that when we feel this intense experience of jealousy, envy, or anger, or emotion, is the first step is to just get away from social media. So speaking of social media, is get away from social media. And then really honoring myself, recognizing that I'm a human being, have compassion with myself, and just going for walks, doing deep breathing, get away from the phone also. Yeah, that's huge. The phone and texting. Yeah, that's huge. And just really focus on honoring my emotions. And when I'm in the experience of fear, anger, jealousy, it's not the time to make a decision. Which is sometimes for me, my mind wants to fix the problem right then, right? I feel triggered by an event and I want to fix the problem. Like I feel depressed the fact that I don't have a girlfriend. Now I want to go find a girlfriend in a depressed state. That's the worst place to like start.
To attract someone like that. Yeah.
Or I feel depressed about my finances. I want to go find a solution. That's I'm not going to make short-term decisions. So I guess the takeaway that I would like to share with people is that when you're experiencing that you're triggered, it's best to just give yourself time and space to really recover, go for walks, and then when tomorrow or the day after or a week later, when you feel in alignment and feeling joy, that's when it's time to make a decision to change your circumstance.
Well, I totally agree with you, and I want to wrap up with one other thing here that if you look at, and this has been coming up with me a lot this past month actually, because I come from a background where I was kind of the kid from like the other side of the tracks. I went to like the top wealthiest neighborhood middle school, junior high school, and then to the high school. But like my parents are just blue collar workers, you know, like I was riding my skateboard to school and when my friends were riding like, you know, like BMWs and stuff. And I went to these schools so I could play basketball. Basically, I got recruited to go, you know, that's why I went there. And so I always felt my whole life like I wasn't really like on that same even level with a lot of the guys that I grew up with. They're all great guys and you know, you can't judge someone for what family they come from. But the thing is, these guys have followed, obviously, in their family's footsteps and become extremely successful. Like, I was out with this one guy, and he was kind of telling how whenever he shares about his background and his peer group, people are shocked that all of his friends in his network are so successful. Like, I'm talking like doctors, lawyers, New York brokers, like we're all just spread out everywhere. And the thing is that I think people really need to understand is that, you know, when someone says that this person's doing well, like you hear that a lot, right? Oh, this guy's doing really well.
Yeah.
They're usually talking about financially well. Like this guy's killing it.
Good point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But doing well is so much more than what their bank statement says.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I look at it, and it was really cool because I talked with my cousin, like my coolest cousin, this guy's named Theo. And I always looked up to him when I was a kid. He was always traveling and stuff and just living this cool lifestyle. Like lived in Montreal. He's like a Greek guy, like just a super cool guy. Yeah. And I talked to him for the first time in like a long time and kind of caught him up to what I'm doing. And he was very successful financially too, like had a great career. But he's like, you know what, man? He's like, don't look at all these other people. And we weren't even talking about my peer group or anything, but he was talking about what he realized that he was in that race. And then he kind of went out and did his own thing. He's like, I'm so much happier that I have the freedom now. Like he's like, I work from home, I'm doing my own thing. I'm healthier than all my friends that are still in that corporate world. So doing well doesn't just mean financially.
I love that.
You know what I mean? And especially in cities like this where it is such a kind of like hustle, rat race, like crushing it, like, you know?
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in that, but you know, you have to look at the different areas of health and wellness and happiness, and you know, just because you're doing well in one area doesn't mean it's balanced out. So I think that's the point we should wrap up with, is just saying, you know, take care of yourself, kind of like what you said, you know, like health, mental, you know, happiness, physical fitness, purpose in your work, not just money, but are you enjoying what you're doing? Look at, try and check all the boxes, and no one has the perfect ideal life. Like, you know, look at Hollywood. People are millionaires and beautiful and doing all of what they want, but they're, you know, unfulfilled. So I think that's a good way to wrap this up, and I definitely will link you up with your information below for people to kind of, you know, check out what you're doing and stuff. And I'm glad that we haven't. I'm shocked that it's been that long since I've seen you one-on-one in person. So you look exactly the same as I remember you, man. It's crazy.
Man. Thank you.
Time has been on your side.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I guess that comes with that 4 a.m. wake up call, huh?
You know, and this hasn't always been 4 a.m. Like I go through phases where I sleep and I can't believe waking up any earlier than 7, you know?
Yeah.
So I've gone through phases, but at the moment I'm back to the 4 a.m. and so thank you.
Cool, man. Well, let's do this again before the next 10 years.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely, man. Cool. We'll wrap that up.